Oh, the timing on this visit from Nainesh Kotak from Kotak Law. Very, very timely. So what happens if you slip or fall on an icy or snowy sidewalk, which can lead to a serious injury? Well, Nainesh is here for the legal side of things with this snowstorm incoming today, because we haven't really seen it that much. But it is something that you guys deal with a fair bit.
Actually, yes, you're absolutely right. And look, when you're dealing with sidewalks, it really depends, where it is. If it's part of a plaza that belongs to the mall, then the test would be one of standard negligence. Did they breach a duty of care? There could be liability on, for example, the mall owner or an independent contractor. Now, if it comes to the municipal sidewalk, for example, in front of somebody's driveway, well, that responsibility is on the city or whoever they contracted it out to. But it's very difficult sometimes to prove the case because you have to establish what's called gross negligence, which means they were actually reckless. And there is, remember this, a 10-day notice period with respect to the city. If you slip and fall on a city roadway, sidewalk particularly, 10-day notice period. In fact, for any slip and fall due to snow and ice, there's a 60-day notice period on even a private homeowner or a mall. So you got to, get your ducks in order and be cognizant of that.
Let's go with the private homeowner first. Okay,
Sure.
So this snow is coming. I didn't clear my snow. I didn't put salt down out front of my stoop, like a mail carrier, something like that. Could you be liable? Absolutely,
you could, but you have to use a reasonable standard of care. And if you know the weather is bad, it's icy, you don't put salt down, you could be responsible to a mail carrier, anybody coming to your home. Now, they may wish to claim WSIB instead, but yes, they could sue you for that. Now, this is interesting. Often landlords, people buy a home and they rent it out to a tenant. They assume that, hey, I'm just going to put in my lease that I'm not responsible, that the tenant can go ahead and has to clean the driveway. You can't do that in Ontario. The Residential Tenancies Act requires that it is the owner's responsibility to clear the snow and ice. What the landlord would have to do is have a separate agreement with the tenant where they give them some what's called consideration. In other words, they pay them something so that the tenant is now the tenant's responsibility. They're in effect hiring the tenant as an independent contractor. Otherwise, the owner needs to be very careful. Hire someone to clean that snow or do it yourself.
Okay, so if you're hiring somebody to clean that snow, who is liable then?
Right, so what the owner or occupier of a property can do, according to the Occupier's Liability Act, is shift that burden. If they have a proper contract in place, and they're providing some, the right supervision, then that burden will shift to that independent contractor to take the reasonable steps to ensure the property is safe. Now, somebody who's fallen will likely sue the owner as well as the independent contractor, but the owner's defense is going to be, we did what we needed to do in the circumstances. We hired a competent professional with a sound contract, and it shifts over to the contractor.
Quickly back to the homeowner thing, because I'm obligated on my sidewalk to clear my sidewalk.
Right.
But that's not, I don't own that sidewalk.
Right. So this is the interesting thing. The city puts that on the homeowner by way of bylaws, and you can get fined if you don't clean your sidewalk. But there's a Court of Appeal decision from the year 2000 in Ontario that says, listen, for liability purposes, that sidewalk is owned by the city in front of your part of your driveway there. They have to do that. Now, there could be circumstances, let's say you don't clear your driveway, and there's snow and ice, and then it dribbles or shifts over to the sidewalk. There could be responsibility on the homeowner for not cleaning their driveway because that resulted in the spread to the sidewalk. Somebody who's fallen on that sidewalk will likely sue the city as well as the homeowner. Remember the 10-day notice period, and you can do that online, actually, with your city website.
Through the city website. We got to go. You're always able to break it down because there's a lot of information there, and a storm coming, and we're really getting into winter now. But Nainesh Kotak, the legal side of slips and falls. Be careful out there. We'll get to the storm coming up. So much more on Morning Live.